But when it comes to being native, who's going to talk about the elephant in the room? Who's going to even see the elephant? Who's going to even think that who built the room and how did the elephant get inside the room? And even that, who's going to think about who built the building that contains the room?
And that inclusivity is something that it feels in the world today. There's more and more polarization. We're trained to look more for difference rather than all the commonality that we share. And I feel like this, I'm curious from you, having been even nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, there's this yearning in your heart for peace and understanding and listening to each other. How have you seen and found the way in which we can embrace this inclusivity, listen more deeply to each other at this time when the opposite of what's happening, when there's so much polarization?
Yes, sort of the practicality of the language is that to unlearn it, in a sense, get rid of exclusivity and start using inclusive words, start using abundant words, value the respect, the appreciation, those intelligences, right? Because that's what it's really about. They're not, healthcare should be free because that's what the earth gives us. It's just a different opposite mindset. But in Lakota, you see, we have acceptance and inclusivity of this language, even I'm speaking. But now you think about this, is that our reservations are tiny little pieces of tracts of land in America. So how many people are going to think about us as Native people? So much as our language has been restricted to a little piece of what was before America. And so there's no room for Lakota. There's only room for everybody else, which we accept. But when it comes to being Native, who's going to talk about the elephant in the room? Who's going to even see the elephant? Who's going to even think that who built the room and how did the elephant get inside the room? And even that, who's going to think about who built the building that contains the room that the elephant is in? And as indigenous peoples, we're looking at all these peoples fumble over theories and ideas and suggestions and new thinking, all these same in the box thinking, is that we're watching the craziness. In my case, I'm saying that whose idea was it to build a building? And even now you hear build it back bigger, better. And it's impossible. So when you're looking at relational values, is our language a relational valued language? Are we speaking about others rather than ourselves in a non-judgmental way? So are we including, as we have, our dream, if you say it this way, was that yes, all cultures would come to this side of the world in Turtle Island, and they were all moving here, moving because they had not found peace, and that peace is with the earth, not on the earth as in domination. We're still saying that earth gives you peace. Not we cannot bring earth. Yes, and then the relational value. Do we speak a rational language? Are we trying to explain ourselves into existence or out of existence? So it comes the mindset of Anthropocene. And yet we as Native people know that we are the most ignorant of all species with the earth. We're the last here, and we're destroying all ahead of us. So where's our future? And so what is done with that, even with a little tiny being called COVID and its many little children, offspring out of that, of course it's going to be natural. It behaves naturally and wants to stay alive just like any other species. And so why don't we respect that? And this is what Native people are trying to do. The 2-3% of us that are left in the United States alone, right? And I think about how much mystery that is, that the same times the old growth forest had shrunk, Native people had shrunk too. So the wisdom, if you say the knowledge of how to experience life lies within the elders. And in this country of North America, Turtle Island is actually, we are the elders. And so we're telling human beings, look, you don't live that way here. You can go bomb yourself and think of recycling over there, and your property values and whatever you're doing, that goes over there with feudalistic times, because that's antiquated from that time. A king, a queen, domination, right? No respect for the earth. So now what do? Do we get rid of these indigenous native peoples who are, not so much colonized, barely 150 years old, as
Mm.
we, as Lakota, were in the center, geographical center of North America? We were one of the last native people to be touched or even contacted. So even though we heard about other peoples before, but because it came to us in our prophecies. And so what I'm saying is, you know, how about, if I can speak Lakota, or if I don't speak Lakota, but I'm still uh, holding the ways of that Lakota about how to respect the earth, and I can say it in English because I have to go back and forth. But now I'm one, so I'm one Lakota living in one world. There is no division for me.
Mm.
You see, and it's just not human to human. It's human to tree, human to rock, human to water, human to fire. All those are not excluding us. All those elements intelligently live within us, and they give us consciousness. But look how we treat our consciousness. We dominate it, we extract it, we gouge it, we destroy it. So this is that, speaking of peace, is that somehow this way of thinking and living is not conducive and will not be conducive in much longer than it is
Mm.
living with the earth, because it doesn't know how. So if I could come from that and without sounding too critical, I think it's in relational languages.
Mm.